What's up, guys, and welcome back to Why Will Friends English. Today we're doing a conversation using the phrasal verbs that we talked about last week, dealing with teaching and disciplining children.
For those of you who saw the phrasal verbs of parenting videos we've done over the last few weeks, we hope you guys been thinking about ways that you can utilize these in your everyday English conversations. And even if those conversations are just to yourself, that's fine. The point is that you're practicing, that you're hearing them being used in this context. That's why we have these natural speaking videos for you to listen to and to practice listening, but we also want you to imitate us. So if you are imitating these conversations and little sentences that you hear, Josh puts up on the screen for you guys so you can see them, practice saying them the way that you hear us say them, because that's how you would say them when talking about this context.
Right, so today we're going to have a natural English conversation using these phrasal verbs, talking about our family time, so that we want you to try to be able to imitate us as we do so, because that's a really good way for you guys to have better, not just listening, but also speaking as well and pronunciation.
Right, so let's get started. Okay, I have to ask you a question about your history first.
Uh-oh.
What are the things, because you are the youngest in your family,
I am.
what are the things that you told on your brothers for the most?
Oh, okay, so story time. I remember this, and nobody else in my family does. But for one Easter, I got these jelly beans. They were Starburst jelly beans. I remember because they looked really good. And I put them in my Easter basket, and I put my Easter basket on the counter, which was the first mistake I made because I have two older brothers. And I walk away, and I go do something, and when I come back, they're gone. And so I know my oldest brother was gone at that time, so it had to have been my middle brother, my older brother. I confronted him about it, saying, "Hey, did you steal my jelly beans?" And he denied it. And so I had to go all the way up to the top and tell my mom. And she didn't care.
Probably because she was the one who did it, right?
No, she was just like, go sort it out with your brother. And I was like really frustrated because he denied it. She didn't really want to deal with it. I really cared for it, and
He did get it. So that's why he gave
it.
you a bag of Starburst jelly beans here last year.
Yeah, he gave me a really big bag because I teased him about it, and it was like a sore spot for like years after that. Literally years. Yeah, every time Easter would come around, I would bring it up and say, "Remember that time where you stole my jelly beans?" He's like, "I really didn't steal it, but whatever." And and so then I guess he felt so bad enough that me telling on him and me messing with him that after a while he was like, "Fine, here you go. My debt is paid."
So you will never bring it up again, right?
No, never, ever.
Now that you've brought it up on YouTube.
Yeah. Now I brought it up to literally thousands of people around the world. Won't ever bring it up again. What about for you? I know that as an oldest sibling with two younger brothers, you probably told on your brothers sometimes too, right?
It was mainly if they did anything against what mom said. So like, because dad was often working, so when mom would say, "Hey, that's a new tool, nobody touches it." Then
Don't mess with it.
Yeah, so if my brother thinks he's being funny and he goes up there and just like pokes it and then looks at me and makes a face, it's like, "I'm going to tell on you." Of course, that's what he wanted. I feel like when we got older, it was things like he got in my room or he took something from my room or something like that. And of course, it's like, did they really? Or was it something they really had no idea of and they just made a face because they're being younger brothers and they wanted to be facetious? There was no telling, really. But we all did it back and forth because we were homeschooled. So yeah, there were plenty of opportunities to tell on each other. So now our kids are finally getting old enough to start telling on each other. Like, and we can barely understand our daughter, but she's obviously telling on her brother sometimes. Like, he hurt me or something like that. So, like, what is your reaction when they come to you?
I don't know. There is an element that I'm glad that they are talking about it, especially right now, because they don't really know how to deal with it right now.
Right.
So, like, I don't mind them telling on each other right now, even though that sounds really weird, because it's a way for them to show that they know how to keep each other accountable right now. Instead of, like, trying to twist each other's arm and trying to say, like, no, you have to do this. Or they may just be messing around, but to show that they know that there is some sort of authority outside of them, I think is a good step to take.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult when it's taken too far.
And I think right now what it usually is when they tell on each other is they're monkeying around and something goes wrong. Like they accidentally hit the other one, or they close the door and it hits their fingers or something. And it's like, those are things I do want to know about. But at the same time, I don't want to encourage the telling on. But at the same time, like you said, I'm glad they're telling us. But right now, it's not like intentionally pestering one another.
Yeah.
They're not intentionally trying to annoy one another. Our daughter has just recently started to just sit really close to her brother and just giggle.
And he'll
he's
say,
like,
no,
"Stop."
no. And she'll do it even more. And it's like, that's...
So she's just started doing that.
Yeah.
And he will like pick up her favorite toy and like look at her. So it's just starting for us. So I guess we're just not yet annoyed by the telling on you for pestering one another.
I bet, a few years from now, we'll just be like, cut it out. Knock it off.
Few months from now, I'm sure. I already say that when they're getting too crazy. Like if they're starting to like slam doors, they are getting hurt repeatedly because they keep goofing off.
Yeah.
I will tell them cut it out or knock it off. Here's a question for you about your history. Which brother did you play with the best?
It kind of changed. When I was younger, I played with my older brother, my middle brother more. When I got older, I played with my oldest brother more. My middle brother, he became very standoffish. He was very upset whenever you tried to play with him. He was just like, no. And I don't know why. But so as I got older, I played with my oldest brother more. But when I was younger, I played with my middle brother more. What about you?
I liked to play alone a lot.
Wow.
That's why I would do my work before they even got up, and then I would go play while they were doing their work. But I also, when I was playing with my brothers, it was kind of both. It kind of depended on the day because they were often upset with each other because they shared a room and they did everything together. They had to do everything together. So they fought a lot. They butted heads a lot, is what we would say in American English. So they butted heads a lot. So I couldn't play with both of them at the same time very often because they were often mad at each other. So I'd play with one for a while when he finished his schoolwork, and then I'd play with the other one when he got off until they got upset. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go back to playing by myself. It was kind of a mixed bag. And there was developmental differences. Like we obviously learned to play together really well.
I mean, that makes sense. My oldest brother, he would prefer to play by himself as well.
Yeah. And we're all really close in age. So it's really interesting that that's what happened. But I felt like my parents had to spend more hands-on time with my brothers by the time that I was remembering this because, I mean, obviously I was the first kid, so I had most of my parents' time. Yeah. But when my brothers came along and the things that they were dealing with, they were just everywhere all the time because they're little boys. So I just kind of got used to playing more independently and let them just do what they were going to do. But I understand that now. It's funny as a mother now because I have a boy and a girl, and our son is just 100 miles an hour and then 0, like he goes to sleep. Yeah. Like he is just all the time, always going, and he will run. It doesn't matter if he runs into things, doesn't matter if he falls, he gets up and keeps running. Yeah. Our daughter is different. She's more methodical and she watches and she studies and then she jumps in and does what she wants to do, but she doesn't hurt herself near as much. Yeah. So I understand why my parents had to pay more attention to my brothers because I think that was a similar situation.
I think boys are just kind of like that. Like they're just running around.
Why are you running? Yeah. I don't know. I'm running.
Exactly.
It is funny though because our daughter does try to keep up with her brother, even though he is very much like that. But what she does is she watches him for a little bit and then she jumps in to join him. I guess that way she knows not to hurt herself, but he like knocks her down all the time, just running into her. But she gets up and keeps going. Like she's tough.
Yeah, she's tough. She also gets her emotions though. Like when something happens to her, she's like, I'm sad.
Feelings are hurt.
My feelings are hurt. He does that too, but his is like feels so strongly and he doesn't really know how to process them. Like, and she's just like, I'm sad. Please hold me.
Yeah, and then after 2 minutes she's fine. So it's just different ages really. Yeah. She'll get more difficult.
When I see our son running around like crazy and all I can think of is just like, dude, slow down. A question I have for you, especially because of 2 reasons. 1, you're the oldest.
Okay.
Number 2 is you have a very freakish memory.
Oh dear.
What did you see was some of the biggest differences that happened as you and your brothers grew up together?
Well, one was that we figured out how to play together for an extended amount of time without bickering.
How did that happen?
I don't know. There's just, my brothers were still sharing a room until I left for college. I think the desire to play a game and enjoy it just finally outgrew like the territorialness and the you did that on purpose thing. I think that's just what it was. But other things that changed was we got to where we would talk with one another and actually enjoy talking to one another rather than just telling each other what to do. And this happened in our like probably middle school, high school years. But part of it was we all had different friends and we were doing different things too. So that kind of helped give a little bit of space so that we did stop bothering each other. Now, it always sounds like we never like we never had
love each other.
Yeah, it always sounds like that, but of course we did. Like nobody else was allowed to pick on each other. We were very protective of one another. We looked out for one another. We worked together. It was just we were always together all the time, and we were really close in age, and we loved to pester each other. Yeah, that's one of those things. Is we just love to pester one another, and if we did not have that pastime, I think we would have been really good friends all the time. Yeah, but we really liked annoying each other.
And it's for you guys specifically, you guys were around each other 24/7. Like, yes. So that's something that is an added challenge actually with dealing with each other, right. Is that you have to deal with each other all the time.
It's good. It was good though.
It's good to be forced to be together and just show each other that, this isn't going to change, so you got to figure it out.
Well, it's people skills.
Yeah.
Most of the time you can make friends, and if you don't get along, you kind of move out of that circle and move into another circle, and people do that all the time. But with your siblings, you can't do that. Yeah. And if you're with them 24/7 because you don't go to different classes or do different things for most of the day, you really have to learn how to work together and talk together and finish the things that need to be finished, but do life. You have to deal with that all together all the time. Yeah. So it was a good skill to learn.
You know what I think is fascinating is that kids and how they develop in the way that they speak, they start by, you have to encourage them to speak up. Mm-hmm. And then after they've learned that they have a voice, you have to basically tell them to be quiet sometimes just because they talk so much and maybe they're too loud. And then, like you were just saying, then maybe the dad or mom said this. They use words as a tool, basically, to get what they want. Right. But then after that, it becomes more laid back where you're actually trying to learn from another person. Right. Which I think is just fascinating that for you and your brothers, happened the same for me and my brothers. Like at first, we were like, I don't know how to use words well. And then it was, I know how to use my words and I'm going to use them to hurt you or to get what I want. But then after we got over that hump whatever that is, puberty, I don't know. After we got over that, it was, we actually like talking to each other.
Yeah. Parents see this. We all know because we've experienced it ourselves. Many of us have experienced this ourselves, or we remember that time. It takes a lot of trying to empathize with what they're feeling because you remember it. But there's another level of, I desire to give you an easier passage through this point in your life. Like, I want you to get through this better. And some people do. It's kind of like a mix of personality, a mix of your background, surrounding context, parents. It's a mixture of all kinds of things that creates what it is. It's just a rite of passage, I guess. Sibling rivalry. What are some really funny ways that your parents disciplined you growing up?
For me, it was when my brothers and I would start like arguing, especially if we were like playing a video game inside and it was like the weekend, my parents would literally just lock us out of the house. Like they're like, hey, I don't want to hear it. And you guys have been playing video games too much. So you're locked out of the house, whether it's in the backyard or maybe it's just straight outside the house. There's a road right there. It's just like, I'm done hearing you. So you're going to have to figure out something to do out there with each other. And honestly, for us, it actually really worked. Like either we would go our separate ways or we would be like, oh, hey, we don't know how to play basketball, but do you want to play basketball now? Like the arguing somehow is just...
It was a change of place. Yeah. Yeah. For my parents, they had a lot of different ways. Like one time they tied my brothers together, like at the hip, so that they had to like stay together. And they had to do the chores because we lived on a farm. They had to do the chores together. They had to figure it out because they were tied together. So that was pretty great. That was a great day.
Like on their like, belt loop?
No, it was like around their waist because they would have broken their belt loops. But yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was awesome.
Do you think that really helped?
I think it was entertaining. Because if they're going to fight, at least make it entertaining. I think they wound up hurting each other's feelings even more. My brothers did. But now they look back at it and think it's hilarious. I think there's just a point that you get to in life where you look back and you're like, that was clever. I understand why you did that. That's funny. Like, it worked in the moment. I don't actually personally remember how it turned out very well because I just thought the thing itself was hilarious. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you were hearing a lot of those phrasal verbs we were using, because it would be impossible for us to talk about these things without these phrasal verbs. So they're very important to learn, very difficult to learn, because unless you hear them in context and you're seeing how they work in the context that you use them in, it's just kind of something that you memorize.
Yeah. And so what we want these videos to be is an opportunity for you guys to listen, yes, but also be able to know how to actually use these in a context that really matters, so that you can actually be equipped to say something that before you couldn't say.
Right.
Or you couldn't express in English.
Just don't memorize them. That's not the goal here. Do not memorize these phrasal verbs, but get comfortable and familiar with using them in these contexts, and you'll be going a long way.
All right, guys, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.